Well, good evening. Welcome, ladies, to the YL OpNet. This is Catherine, AEC4YL Net Control for this evening's net. We meet every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Echolink ALARA conference node. Be sure to invite all YLs you know to join us. We ask that only YLs or licensed young lady ham radio operators check in and participate. The purpose of this net is to encourage you to become and stay active with amateur radio, help each other improve our operating knowledge and skills, and have fun. For more ham radio fun between weekly nets, check out the YL OpNet Facebook group. During the net, please be sure and join us in the NFARL Do Drop In chat room by opening any web browser and going to nfarl.dodropin.org. Just put your name-call sign in the box and click Log In. YLs who would like to check in, give us your call sign, name, and current location. And don't forget that there is a 3 to 4 second delay when transmitting through Echolink. This is Catherine, AEC4YL. We will now begin taking check-ins. Please call now.
KC9ZHV, Lauren, Albany, Illinois.
W5MQC Michelle. I'm currently southbound on I-35 towards Texas. Wisconsin.
This is Whiskey 3, Lima, Echo, Oscar, Leah, also going southbound on I-35 with Michelle to Texas. Hamcom, here we come.
K for TKD, Yukiko in Tokyo, Japan.
KC8PKY, Linda, Knox, Indiana.
WB18RU, Ann, Hanover, Massachusetts.
KDWI7YL in Sundance, Wyoming.
AE7M.
K7CJS, this is CJ in Gardner, Washington.
AE7MB, Margaret, Battleground, Washington, and it looks like I've doubled with behalf of the group.
YL, doing in Hudson, Florida. Sorry if I might have doubled with anybody.
This is AB7CS, Sarah, in Washington, and I've been doubling too.
KB4RM, Rosemary, Texas.
This is Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta, Carol in Sacramento, California.
KA7SKY, Sky in Washington. WB1DHT, Connie in Bridgewater, Massachusetts.
Okay, cool. Let's do a quick rundown, and don't worry if you doubled with somebody. If you don't hear me say your call, we'll do one more round of check-ins in just a minute. Because we have a couple of repeaters connected, it takes a little bit more time for them to let go of the transmission, so you almost have to wait for that courtesy tone after somebody is finished transmitting before you start transmitting. So that takes a little bit longer than usual, so no worries there. Okay, so kicking it off, we have Lauren, KC9ZHV, Illinois. Michelle, W5MQC, on the road to Texas. And Michelle, maybe you can come back and can you come back and tell us what state you guys are currently in? Over.
Sorry about that. I'm in Oklahoma for about 15 more miles, and I'll be in Texas, W5MQC.
Okay, very good. Yeah, it looks like the K4EX repeater holds the connection just a little bit. So, all right, cool. Very good. Michelle got you, Oklahoma. And we have Ann, KC9YL, Wisconsin. And we have Leah, W3LEO, also on the road there in Oklahoma with Michelle. We all having a little ham party in the car there. It's awesome. Yukiko, 7K4TKB, Tokyo, Japan. Good afternoon. Might be late morning for you there, Yukiko. It's a good day to you. We have Linda, KC8PKY, Indiana, and WB1ARU, Massachusetts. Katie, WY7YL, Wyoming. Margaret, AE7MB, Washington. CJ, K7CJS, Washington as well. And we have Dawn, WA4YL in Florida. Gotcha. And Sarah, AB7PS, also in Washington. Rosemarie, KB4RM, checking in from Texas. Carol, KP4MD, joining us from California. Welcome, Carol. Sky, KA7SKY, also joining us from Washington. And Connie, WB1DHT, joining us from Massachusetts. Great group. Let's go ahead and see if we miss anybody in check-ins, and again, leave a little bit more time in between check-ins so we can get you. So please.
This is KJ4IHL, Billy Marie.
K4 Sierra Alpha Foxtrot, Carolyn, Kentucky.
This is KD0WAU. This is Barb, Andover, Kansas, on the road in Dayton, Ohio.
Hold on. Okay, apologize for that. My Echolink said I was doubling, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't stepping on anyone. Apologize if I was. Okay, Billy Marie, can you come back with your call again? It cut out on us. So if you can come back with your call sign again, that would be awesome.
Yes, I will. It is KJ4 India Hotel Lima, and I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Go ahead.
Okay, very good, Billy Marie. Thank you very much for coming back. KJ4IHL. Very good. Got you in the log, and welcome to the net this evening. We have Carol, K4SAF, joining us from Kentucky, and Barb, KD0WAU, home QTH, Kansas, currently mobile in Dayton, Ohio. So good evening to you, Barb, and welcome to the net. Let's do one last check just because we're having some Echolink difficulties. Anyone, if I can talk, any other YL would like to check in, please call now. Okay, awesome. All right, I think we've got everybody. I saw Susie in there. I know she's chatting in here. Susie, maybe you were having some issues getting in, but we do have you in the log as well. And I believe Melanie is with us also. So I think we have everybody. So we'll go ahead and start into the net. However, if you have not been able to check in and you would like to do so, we will come back around about 9 o'clock. So in about 45 minutes, we'll ask for any more check-ins. Okay, so good evening, everybody. Hope everybody has had a great week. And so this week, we have a pretty good net planned this evening. What I thought we'd start out with, though, is there's been a little bit of confusion on this net. So I thought I'd clarify a bit, and I apologize for those of you who have already heard this story. But I thought I'd go through what this net is about. Because there's been a little bit of confusion with what it's tied to, etc. So I thought I'd clarify that this evening. Okay, so back in October of 2014, seems so long ago, I decided to start this net. And the reason behind starting this net is I got my technician license in September of 2013, so almost a year prior. And I started getting on the repeater. I start out like a lot of us do. We go in and we get our HT, and we get our we try the built-in antenna. It doesn't take very long before somebody says, don't use the built-in antenna on your HT. You really can't use it in the car unless you're like really near the repeater. So you go and you get a mag mount antenna typically, and you put that on your car, and you start rolling, and you get on the air, and you start getting on the repeater. A lot of us start out this way, and so that's what I did. I got an HT and I got a mag mount antenna and put it on my car, and I listened for about 2 to 3 weeks before I got up the nerve to start actually getting on the air. And actually threw my call sign out one morning on the way into work, and there was an OM that came back to me from my local club, and we had a good little QSO, and he was very kind. He gave me some nice tips and pointers for the beginner ham just getting started. So one thing I noticed after a period of time went by, I would flip between 2 or 3 different repeaters in the mornings on my way into work, and in the evenings on my way home from work. And I noticed I heard a lot of OMs, but I never heard any women on the repeater. And I thought that was kind of a bummer, but, being in the tech world, it's not all that uncommon. But I noticed there weren't a lot of women on the radio. However, when I go to club meetings, I noticed that we had a few YLs that would come to the club meetings, and I thought that was pretty cool. So apparently there are women that get their license, but why don't I ever hear them? Let me pause for a reset. So of course, in the interim there, I started doing some research on the internet and looking for other women in amateur radio and looking for amateur radio clubs or organizations that are more geared toward women, to just see if perhaps they had nets or repeaters or some way that I could connect with them, and maybe in turn be able to encourage the local gals to get on the air. And so I stumbled on the HF net that Ann and Margaret run on Thursday evenings at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And so I started listening, and then I got up the nerve to check into that one. And it was really neat. I got to see how those HF nets are run. So that was a new experience for me, because the only nets I had been on up until that point were the local club nets that we had. We have a Tech Talk on Monday nights on our local repeater here in Georgia. And so I used to get onto that and listen to how that was run. And I checked in a couple times on the Aries net that's on Sundays and checked that out. So I got to hear how that was run. And then listening to Ann and Margaret run the HF net, I got to see how that net was run. So it was a lot of fun and really neat. And I thought, well, hey, maybe that's something that can be useful to help get some YLs more comfortable. Maybe they just need kind of their own space to be able to get on the air and have some fun. So I decided to approach the club and ask them who I needed to talk to in order to kick off a YL net. So I went up to the president of the club at the time, and on a club meeting night, and I said, hey, who do I need to talk to about starting a YL net on our repeater? What do you think of that idea? And he was very encouraging and said, that's a great idea, and I think you should do it. You just pick a day and time, and you let us know when you want to do it, and go for it. So I did. Of course, my concern with that at that point is, with all things that you start off new, you want to make sure that it's off to a good start. I didn't want to kick off the net in the first week, not have anybody show up. That's kind of a bummer. So what I did is I reached out to Ann and Margaret on the HF net about a week or two prior to the first kickoff net. I picked a date and mentioned to them on the air, and it was one of those nights where propagation wasn't all that hot, and I think the only YL I heard on that net that night was Ann, actually, WB1ARU. So I mentioned it to Ann and asked her to pass it along to all the gals on that net who could hear her and not hear me, to please let them know that they're more than welcome to come on to this net that I'm starting off here on Echolink. And that was the reason why I picked Thursday nights as well, because I knew a lot of these gals might like to play different forms of ham radio. Some would like HF, some would like Echolink, and some would be local on RF, on the repeater. So I figured, this is pretty cool. The gals can come in and play on Echolink or RF, and then I can direct them to try out HF and play around on the HF net. So what a cool way, and it'd be kind of like YL net night. So that's why I picked the day and the time for this net. And so I knew then that my goal for this net was just what we outline in the preamble every week, to encourage YLs to become and stay active with amateur radio. This is your net, ladies, and to help each other improve our operating knowledge and skills, and to have fun so we can share what we learn and share our experiences in amateur radio and kind of have our own space to learn new things and talk about the fun that we have and the joy and the things that we learn, and ask questions and share our knowledge as we all go around and play amateur radio. So my point in saying all this, really, ladies, and I appreciate you being patient and bearing with me here, is just to let you know that this net is an independent YL net, and it just so happens that we have YLs who are members of ALARA. We have YLs on this net that are members of BILARA. We have YLs on this net that are members of CLARA. We've had YLs on this net that are members of the Japan, and I apologize, Yukiko, it escapes my memory here, but the ladies' organization in Japan as well. So we have a lot of different YLs that are members of different clubs and different organizations. This net isn't tied directly to any of them. It is a net for all YLs. Yes, and ALARA. Thank you, Anne. So just wanted to kind of clarify that for everybody. This isn't an ALARA net. This isn't a YLRL net. This is a generic YL opnet. It's for you ladies and any YLs out there that get on the air and play radio so that we can have fun and share our experiences together and learn together. So just wanted to kind of clarify that and let everybody know so that we're good there. And so if you ladies have any questions about that, feel free to shoot me an email directly, ac4yl@arrl.net, and I'm happy to answer any of those questions for you. So I appreciate your patience. Hope I didn't bore too many of you with the story of how this net got started. But again, encourage you, please, let all the YLs you know, wherever you are, that they are more than welcome to come in and check in this net. The more variety we have and the more experiences we have, and whether you're a new ham that just got your license 5 hours ago because you got your call sign issued from the FCC, or you've been a ham for 35 years, it doesn't matter. We love to have all of you YLs here with us, and I know that we have a lot of OMs who are silently supportive and listen every week, and we thank you for that as well, and your support in spreading the word to the YLs in your family and in your club. So just wanted to clear that up. Okay, so not sure if Katie already left the connection yet, but 33 to Katie there, WY7YL, who has to step out early. She's got a committee meeting. So 33 to you, Katie, if you're still out there, and have a great evening. Okay, so next up, we'll go into something a little more interesting. So we've been going through some ham radio terminology a few times, so I thought we'd pick this subject back up for just a few minutes here and go through just 4 different ham radio terminologies or abbreviations or whatever you like to call them that we hear often on the air and what they mean. So I thought we'd start off with a couple of Q codes this evening. Perhaps you've heard QST, Quebec Sierra Tango, on the air. Who can tell us what QST means and why somebody might use it?
Well, it's the title of the publication published every month by the ARRL. That's one meaning of QST.
All right, very good, Anne. So QST is a magazine published by the ARRL. That's one definition. And also kind of a hint about what QST means. So who can give us the other definition?
When putting out a broadcast to the amateur radio community, it means calling all radio amateurs. So that's historically where QST comes from. Over.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Carol. Very good. So QST, you could think of it like calling all hams. So you're reaching out to any ham radio operator that can hear you on the air. You have a message for them. QST. So thank you, Carol, and thank you, Ann. Any more comments on QST?
Enough, it doesn't show up on the Q chart that I have, my icon.
I think that was Billy Marie, I believe that was. And were you saying that QST is not on your list? Is that what you were saying?
Roger that. It's not listed in the icon Q signals that I have, and it's not listed. I mean, there's a little cheat sheet thing that I got from the ALARA, which is odd.
Well, no worries there, Billy Marie. There's a couple of sites, actually, that several Q codes, and I'd be happy to send you the links to those sites if you would like to send me an email when you are able to, because I noticed you're on RF and not on Echolink, so I could put it in the chat, but you wouldn't see it. So feel free to shoot me an email when you get a chance, and I'll send you a couple of links, or you can go to google.com and type in Q codes. RadioQTH.net/QCodes is one of them for you gals that are on your computers and can look real quick. That's one, RadioQTH.net/QCodes. And the other one, QSL.net, also has a Q code page as well. And I will put all those on the the YL OpNet on our Facebook group page as well. So that we have those links so that you can find those. So those are two sites that have a listing of those Q codes, and they do happen to include QST. But thank you, Billy Marie, for pointing that out for any of the other gals that are kind of looking at the same list, and feel free to write that one in on your list that you do have, because you do hear it from time to time. Not very often, but every once in a while someone will come on the air and go QST, QST, and state what they want to let everybody know. Okay, any other comments on QST before we move on? Okay, nothing hurts, so we'll go to the next one. How about QSY, Quebec Sierra Yankee? Who can tell us what QSY means and when you would use it?
Well, this is Carol, K4SAF. QSY means you're going to move up or down the frequency. Find a clearer spot. Got some QRM bothering you, so you're going to QSY.
All right, awesome. Very good, Carol. Thank you very much. So just like you stated, you're going to change frequency that you're on, so you're going to QSY. And you'll hear that a lot in contesting. Some folks will have not be hearing very many stations or have some interference that pops up on the frequency that they were operating just fine on, and they need to change frequency. Another time you might hear that is if you are asking if the frequency is in use, which you would want to do on HF before you start transmitting or calling CQ. You would state your call sign and then ask if the frequency is in use. That's a courtesy to somebody that may be there that you can't hear at the moment, but the person they are speaking to may hear you and come back and let you know. Or the person that is on, there might have been a pause and you just happened to tune in when there wasn't anyone
This is AG4YL. Seems Catherine may have dropped her connection, lost her connection there for a moment. So until she chats in that she is back on again, I'm going to go ahead and continue here with a few things. I'm on, I posted a link there. It's kind of interesting. It's qsl.net stroke w5www stroke qcode.html. And it's interesting, the table on this page, it says, these codes were found on the inside cover of a 1965 ARRL amateur radio station logbook. And it's kind of interesting because there's a lot of stuff that you would never, I've never seen or never heard. And there's a couple here that I think are interesting, and I don't think that we have covered them yet. And oh, she's chatted in. Thanks. Does that mean you're ready to go, Catherine, or you want me to throw one out here for some fun? I just click back here to watch the chat. Okay, not seeing anything. All right, so this is interesting. QRL. QRL. Does anybody out there, you hear it occasionally, QRL. It's one that they said, you use it every now and then, and I find it kind of interesting. And I've heard it before, but very rarely. Is there anybody out there that can give us a definition for QRL?
This is Carol, K4SAF. It means there's a frequency busy, and you hear it mostly on CW. As a courtesy, most everybody, when they get on the air and they're listening around, they will send QRL, da 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 da, and that says, is there anybody using this frequency? Is it okay for me to call CQ?
Oh, that is way cool. Thank you so much for coming back with that, Carol. And Anne chats in here an interesting chat. She says she has a list printed on the cover of her first logbook circa mid-70s, and most of the Q codes are for CW, and that is true. The Q codes are made so you weren't sending a whole bunch of letters, a whole bunch of words in CW. By the time by the time you say, yeah, I've got I'm being interfered with on this end, they could have just put QRM and been done with it. So yes, Carol, QRL, that is correct. Are you busy, or I am busy? Please do not interfere. And most of the Q codes that are in here, must I send faster or send slowly? And these were actually in my testing to get my license, which I thought was interesting because you don't really hear it on sideband. You're only going to hear this on CW, obviously, and things like QRU. We talked about QRV. Are you ready? Or I am ready. QRU. Have you anything for me? I have nothing for you, and that's something that you may run into on traffic nets. A little bit more so on a traffic net. So, with that, it looks like Catherine might be, Margaret says, the back cover of my current logbook has the Q codes. And it's really interesting, just kind of looking down through some of these that are on here. It's really interesting looking at QST, which we just talked about, was general call preceding a message addressed to all amateurs and ARL members. In effect, CQ. So there we go. All right, I'm going to try to pass this back to future agenda item. What do you use to log? That's an awesome question. Let me pause. Why is the repeater yelling at me? Okay, I think I have it. Okay. Yeah, CJ, we actually talked a little bit about logging programs and things like that, and it is an interesting topic and one that perhaps we shall cover again soon, especially with Field Day coming up. And we talked a little bit about it, like Catherine, a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Field Day or logging, or maybe it was last week, Field Day and logging. Both of our personal favorites are N3FJP because it's simple, it's on one window, and it shows you as you work each section, it changes the color of the section. So it's almost like a little game like, ooh, you know, we've only got these sections to work, you know, let's maybe turn the antenna a little bit if you can, or something like that, or wait till a different time of day to watch the conditions change and watch different sections get worked. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of a neat thing to do, and a lot of people like N1MM. I'm not a fan, but there's also Genlog, which I also downloaded with N1MM. Both of those are free, and Genlog I'm not a fan of it either. I actually pay for N3FJP and think it's worth every penny. And then there's a log for OM, and that's a very popular one and seems to be a very good and stable one. I haven't played with it yet, so I can't comment on that myself. But anyway, yep. See, Genlog, log for OM, N1M. Oh, and DX Labs, good one. Thanks, Catherine. And DX Labs, which I have kind of looked into, but I haven't played around with it much. Just too many logging programs, not enough time, and there we are. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass this back over to Catherine so she can continue on with the net. This is AG4YL, and back to the net.
Well, thank you very much, Melanie, and thanks for jumping in. And I apologize, ladies, my Echolink connection decided to just drop out. Isn't that awesome? But thanks, Melanie. Great job, as always, for jumping in and filling in for us. So just a couple of things. Rhea, N2RJ, has joined us. Good evening, Rhea. And Nisi, KA1ULN, has also joined. So good evening, ladies. We're well, more than a couple, a few more ham radio terminology this week, so having a good discussion on that. So thank you very much again, Melanie, for covering a couple more for us. And so we're going to step away from the Q code side and just go through two more just terms that you hear. So this one's fairly easy. Who can tell us what reading the mail means and when you tend to hear it?
Again, since
Well, someone started to explain and then they dropped out. This is Carol again. I don't want to hog everything, but there wasn't anybody coming on. Reading the mail means you're just listening. You're just listening to a Q, so might want to see if you want to join the group.
and I got the message. I'm still getting the message I'm doubling. I'm stop again. Okay, every time I start, I get a message that I'm doubling with Susie, but that's all right, I guess. When to use it, or when you often hear it, I think is more often on the repeaters. I've used it myself. Sometimes there's a conversation going on with half a dozen different people, and you're driving along and you need to focus on the driving, or somebody in the car wants to talk to you or something, and you say, well, I'm just going to go back and copy the mail for a while, and meaning that you don't want anybody to call you and expect you to transmit. You're just going to be listening. It's kind of like alerting them that you're still there, even though you're not talking. Or that's one way it's used anyway.
And to RJ.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, Carol, and thank you, Ann. And I was sitting here waiting on my little arrow to go away from the K4EX repeater, but that was probably a delay on my connection end as well. Good times. Okay, Rhea, over to you. Into RJ. Go ahead, please.
Oh, good evening. I'm a little late, but better late than never. So regarding reading the mail, I've actually heard it also being used on HF during rag chews, where somebody will be discussing a subject and then somebody else joins in. Could be a regular member of the group or somebody new, and then they would want to interject and join in. And they said they would say something like, "Well, I can't help but I was reading the mail, and I found out that you were talking about this and that." Like if they were talking about this radio, or even this just normal anything you talk about on the radio. So that's another way it could be used. It's like a polite way to get into the conversation and make your input. Back to you, Catherine, and to RJ.
Well, excellent, Rhea. Thank you, and Ann and Carol for those great examples of when you use it and when you hear it and how people use it. So, and the meaning behind it. So, thank you, ladies, for covering that very well. Okay, did anybody else have any additional comments? Susie, I know you keyed up and then didn't. So, Susie, if you had something else that you wanted to share, please go ahead and come back in as well. Okay, very good, Susie. All right, no worries. Just didn't want to miss anything that you had to say. No problem. Stick around. Glad to have you listening in here with us. And I think Ginger, your kitty, just wanted to say hi. Nothing wrong with that. Great to have you on here, Susie. Just didn't want to miss you if you had a comment. So, okay, thank you again, ladies, for that. Let's go through one more. And this one, you've probably heard this term before, but we've heard the term lid, and we're not talking about something that goes on a jar in this case, but you'll hear somebody refer to another ham radio operator as a lid. What does that mean?
KC8BKY.
Please, go ahead, Linda.
Okay. As I understand it, it's somebody who is obnoxious or rude, I see Rhea says it has an interesting legend behind it, and I don't know that, so I'll turn it back to Net, KC8PKY, as soon as it lets me out.
Okay, very good, Linda. Thank you. So, poor operator. All right. So, Rhea, would you like to share with us the interesting legend behind it?
Okay. Well, the interesting legend I've heard. Of course, everything in ham radio is legend and is buried deep in history. So basically, in the telegraph days, like even wireline, railroad telegraph, they would hear the telegraph signals as clicks, and then a good telegraph operator could just hear the clicks and decode a message. The poor operators used to put a can lid, on top of the sounder so it could help them, and they were considered to be poor operators because they couldn't just hear it from the clicks. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but it sounds plausible. Back to Net and to RJ.
Could I make a comment too? This is Carol.
Okay, thank you, Rhea. And Carol, yes, please go ahead.
I don't know what happened. I started to talk and then it was gone. A couple of things came to mind from my long history in ham radio. I remember an older ham over, I think he was in Bristol, Virginia. He used to call CQ and he said, no lids, no kids. No lids, no kids. And he didn't really want to talk to us teenagers. but he was pretty nice if we did call him. And then K4LID, we have a ham in Louisa, Kentucky. He chose his vanity call, K4LID, and he's a great operator. He's a man that's been blind all of his life, and he knows voices. He's on nets and so forth, and he knows your voice. I'd only talked to him a couple of times, and I saw him at a ham fest, went up and said, "Hi, Tom," and he said, "Oh, it's K4SAF," and that just dumbfounded me that he knew me just from my voice.
That's a pretty cool story, Carol. Thank you so much for sharing that with the group here, and thank you and Rhea and Ann for your comments on and Linda on a lid. Appreciate that. Any other comments on lid? And I've stumbled across doing a quick Google search here on some other potential history and legends of the word lid and where it came from. So that might be something kind of fun to discuss over on the YL OpNet Facebook group. If you gals find some interesting stories about it or websites or articles that are referenced, we could have a little fun with that topic off-net time. So thanks, ladies, for that. Any other comments on lid before we move on?
Kilo Papa for Mike Delta. This is Carol.
Please go ahead, Carol.
And his call sign is Victor Echo 7 Kilo Foxtrot Mike. You can look him up online, and you'll see all the history about the things he says and does on the air. That's Net Control. Hello, Catherine and Melanie and everybody on the net.
Well, good evening, Dawn. I apologize. I may have doubled with you, but I didn't catch the front part of what you said. So if you can come back and repeat your last transmission, and then we'll go over to Carol, KP4MD. So go ahead, Dawn. WA4YL, AC4YL in the net.
This is WA4YL, Dawn in Hudson, Florida. The perfect example of a lid is somebody from Canada. I heard him on the 14.313, and his name is Carol, but everybody calls him Crazy Carol. And his call is VE7KFM, and the things he says on the air would make everybody's hair curl. And he hasn't been caught yet by the agency. That would be like the FC.
Well, okay, Dawn. Well, thank you. That's interesting, and I'm sure we stumble across a few lids from time to time. But it's good to hear you out there, Dawn, and you sound like you might have a little cold, so hope you're doing okay, and we will catch you here in a bit, and I hope you're doing okay, and it's good to hear you. Okay, Carol, let's go to Carol, KP4MD. Go ahead, please.
And this is Carol, Kilo Pop 4 Mike Delta. Well, yeah, from what I recall, when I first got on the air back in the 70s, I've been licensed now for 47 years. The term lid was not only for people who were obnoxious and rude, but it was just people who didn't really have good operating practices. For example, if somebody was tuning up their transmitter on the frequency where the conversation was going on, and they were causing interference, not necessarily intentionally, but just being careless in their operating, not following proper etiquette and common courtesy to others. That would qualify a person as a lid. And essentially it was just somebody who was inexperienced or just really careless and was causing grief to others in that way. So, but on top of that, you've got, of course, the sociopaths that you're talking about. I think those go beyond the lid. Over.
Very good, Carol. Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you so much for your comments as well. So, yeah, again, unfortunately, we're across those on the air, but you know, we can learn from them and learn not to do what they do, and learn not to promote that behavior by simply turning the dial and just change frequency, or as we learned earlier tonight, QSY. Okay, very good. Some great discussion this evening, ladies. Well, we've got about 3 minutes before the HF net kicks off. This net will continue for another 33 minutes. So you ladies are more than welcome to hop over to HF if you like in a few minutes. Let's go to Ann and see if we have a frequency yet. WB1ARU. Do we have an HF net this evening, and do we have a frequency from AC4YL and the net?
$14.288. I'll put it up in both chat places as well. 14.288. Thank you. WB1ARU.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Ann. So if you ladies would like to hop over to HF for a bit, you're more than welcome to do so. And you can always hop over there and come back, or you can hop over to HF and hang out on HF until that net concludes, or you can stay here. Whatever your ham radio pleasure this evening. It's all up to you, but you're more than welcome to do whatever you like. And so with that, let's go ahead and see if we have any more check-ins. Any YL who has not checked into the net this evening and would like to do so, please call now. Okay, not hearing anything, so very good. Okay, so with that, what we can do, if you like, is take just a few minutes and we can revisit CJ's question on logging programs. So we threw out a few there for you, see about some questions there, and I think Melanie has something she wants to say, so Melanie, and then we can revisit that. AG4YL, AC4YL on the net.
Thank you very much. This is AG4YL. I just wanted to comment before some of the ladies left us either for the evening or just for a little while. Please be sure to visit the Net's Facebook page. You can simply search for groups YL OpNet. If we haven't already invited you, and if you care to join, please put out a request and we'll be glad to get you added into the group. I'm going to be pinning a whole list of websites I found with ham radio terminology, and some of them are very wide, and some of them are a little more limited. Some are more professional and slick, and some are done by people just like you and me. So it was very interesting, and I wanted to make sure that you all check out the YL OpNet Facebook group. And please comment on there, chat on there, and that net, quote-unquote net, hi, is always open 24 hours a day. And with that, I'll send us back to Catherine, AC4YL, and the net.
Thank you very much, Melanie. Appreciate that reminder. And CJ was kind enough to post the link to the Facebook group page in the Echolink chat. So thank you very much, CJ. Appreciate that. It's most helpful. And Lauren, if you're around, is there anything you wanted to comment on the YouTube channel? I know you set up an official YouTube channel for us for this net. Is there any comment or suggestion or tip or anything that you wanted to tell the ladies here on the net about it, how to find it, or anything else? KC9ZHV, if you're around, AC4YL on the net.
Just wanted to make sure I had it here. This is KC9ZHV here. And yeah, I did set up an official, I guess, YL OpNet YouTube channel. The idea behind it was to try to put all the YouTube videos in one spot. I was when I first began or started this project, I put it underneath my my ham call sign, which I use for a whole bunch of other things, and I just felt that I probably should have done this earlier and didn't get on, didn't get it started until recently. I do not have any channel art for it or anything, so there is nothing fancy. It is new. I am broadcasting to it tonight, and I've got a lot of stuff here going on here at the house, so I'm on a completely different machine than what I normally broadcast the net on. So I was scrambling around at the last minute to do tonight's broadcast, but not a big deal. It's up there and live. If anyone wants to help with the broadcast, feel free. I would gladly will gladly share the information on how I do it and try to work with it. And I wanted to get with you anyway, Catherine, and get you set up onto the YouTube channel so that way you can make modifications to it and do things as well. So that way it's kind of more, it's more centralized anyway. Anyway, with that being said, I did update all the links in the YLOpnet section of my website, casey9chp.com, so you can find the Facebook group page from there and the new YouTube channel from there as well, along with the countdown timer to the next net and things like that, a whole bunch of other stuff. It's just slow going. I just haven't had much time. This is Casey9ZHP, back to net control.
And the not having enough time there, Lauren, most definitely. So yes, I'm looking forward to catching up with you on that. And on behalf of all the ladies here and myself and Melanie, thank you so much for starting the YouTube live stream. It was a great idea. And for a while I used to record them just through the Echolink, just with the audio. And when I switched to the computer I'm on right now, that it records it supposedly, and then I can't play it. It's like corrupt or something. I haven't quite figured that out yet. So I don't need to worry about that anymore because we now have a better solution. So that's great. So thank you, Lauren. I might pick your brain for some other things too. And this is just the beginning. It's wonderful to have you here to help us bring even more of an awesome YLOpnet experience to all the YLs that like to check in. And it's also a great way for you gals to introduce those that are not licensed yet and are thinking about getting their amateur radio license. Think of this as a tool you can use. All you need to do is email them a link and let them listen to a couple of the nets and see what they think and share their thoughts with you. And you can address concerns that they may have about getting their license. It's a great way to get them some exposure without them actually having to be on the air and they don't have their license yet. It's also another great way for those that are brand new to amateur radio, maybe have just got their license. They're more than welcome to come into the net as well. They don't have to transmit. A few of you gals, I believe, listened for probably 2 or 3 weeks before you actually checked in. That's what this net is about. It's to help the gals get over that mic shy, and if that means just hanging around for a few weeks until you start hearing the same folks every week and you get to know them, and that kind of increases your comfort level, that's a great way to do it. And that's another way that I think this net can be most helpful. So feel free to use that link. It's a great tool. Let me pause for Okay, so again, thank you, Lauren, for that, and we'll definitely try to get together here on Saturday. If our schedules can mesh, that would be awesome. And perhaps if we can plan it around a time when Melanie's also available, it'd be great. That would be awesome. So thanks again for doing that for the gals here. I know that all of us really appreciate it. And Michelle makes a really nice comment in the chat that her club, including the OMs, love listening to the live stream, so that's great. So it's like being on amateur radio. You don't know who all is out there and listening, but there's always somebody listening. So very good. Okay, so let's go back to CJ's question earlier about logging programs, and let's see if we can have just a little bit of a discussion on that. I know we've covered this before, but it's a great topic. So let me go to CJ first. CJ, do you have any specific questions that you wanted to ask about logging programs or a particular one that maybe you've heard of? Let's go over to CJ first. K7CJS, AC4YL, and the net.
Well, hello there. Yeah, I just, at some point I'd like to do contesting. I'm not ready for that. Just got my first HF radio this weekend at CPAC, but it's not set up, and I don't know when I'll do contesting. But I looked at Logger 32, and it looked like the most complicated thing in the whole world, and I'm computer literate. So, and then I have to log all my volunteer hours, although that includes non-air time. So I was thinking I'm going to just do that on a spreadsheet. But at some point, I want to use my logging software to, get credit for doing other countries and blah, 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 blah. So other than that, I don't know much. I asked Nisi a question in email about a contest, and she's going to get back to me. So, yeah, so I'm just not sure what I want to spend my time trying to learn. K7CJS, back to you.
Okay, very good, CJ. Well, thank you for those questions. They're great questions. So your interest right now is contesting. That's an awesome and fun aspect of the hobby. And so as far as contesting software goes, a lot of hams use different programs. But the ones you'll see quite often in contesting are N1MM and N3FJP. You see those very often in contesting. Now, they have two completely different interfaces, different views. My suggestion would be to download both of them and look at the interface, what the program itself looks like. Now, with I've downloaded N1MM, which is free. I ran into some difficulty setting it up, but then I also didn't have someone to kind of mentor me through that. And perhaps it's actually easier than it appears to be. So I'm not putting down N1MM at all, because it's, a lot of people really enjoy using that. The program is N3FJP, and you can download specific logs for individual contests. And so how does that help you? Well, for example, Field Day is coming up. Now, I don't know about the specific contest logs in N1MM, but in N3FJP, when you download the Field Day log, you are specifically looking at the information for the exchange required for Field Day. And so what you'll see on the left-hand side will be the boxes for the information, only required information for the exchange. And in the bottom right will be your information that you fill in on the opening form. I don't want to get too detailed in it because you kind of have to download it and experience it. Let me pause for a reset. B to you, CJ, is to download those two and play with them. You can play with them. There's no cost to play with them. N3FJP lets you download it for free, and you can use it up to, I think, 30 contacts you can put in it. So you can play with it and see what it's like. Another suggestion I would have for you along those same lines is, if you've never participated in Field Day before, go to YouTube and search for some videos of people playing Field Day. Why? Because a lot of them you'll hear on the air, and you'll hear what the exchange sounds like. So you can already be ahead of the game for Field Day, and you can hear what the exchange is, and you've got your log program open, and you can see what the exchange is, and kind of follow along as if, well, if I was working this person, how would I log them? So you can download that and play with it. Download N1MM and play with it. I know Rhea uses N1MM, so if you need help, I'm sure Rhea, and I think she's volunteered before, into RJ. Rhea will help you and guide you along if you are interested in exploring N1MM. But I would recommend you play with both. Play with any others that you like, but those are the two I personally would recommend you try first. They're the most popular when it comes to contesting and logging programs. There are others out there, but those are the two most popular. Does anybody else have, and I apologize, I'm so long-winded tonight, does anybody else have any suggestions or comments for CJ? Please call now, AC4YL.
Well, this is Carol, and FJP software is great. I've used it once on a field day, plan to use it again, and it's great about telling you if a station is a duplicate. You can work the same field day station on different bands, and so it will tell you if it's a duplicate on a certain band, and it's really easy to use. It's got all the sections, ARRL sections, and you don't even have to really type those in. You can just click on the section, and it puts it in, and that won't be a problem in Kentucky because there's only one section. But I think Los Angeles, I believe that I looked at Los Angeles one time, and just that city has maybe 6 different ones. So, it helps if you can just click on the section and not have to type all of them in. So, anyway, I'm kind of excited about Field A, and I've got the program downloaded on my computer to play around with before the actual Field Day. So thank you. Don't mean to take up so much time, but I enjoy this. So back to you, Catherine.
Well, no worries at all there, Carol. We love to hear from you as well. You always have good suggestions or experiences to share with the group, and it's just great having you with us. So thank you very much. And thanks for your comments, your additional info on N3FJP. And I think Melanie alluded to earlier, as you work them, they change colors so you can see which sections you've worked and which ones you still need. And Carol's right on. California is probably one of the most difficult when it comes to sections because they've got several just in their one state. So, it can get a little confusing. But on the encouraging side, when you are working field day, or you're working a station and they come back with their section and they say the entire section instead of the abbreviation, never be afraid to ask them, what's the abbreviation for that section? And they will come back and tell you gladly. So don't be afraid because you're new and you may not know the section abbreviations. Even sometimes I have to ask or look it up real quick because I'm like, which one is it? It kind of sounded like this one. So don't hesitate. Feel free to ask someone to repeat information or ask for the abbreviation of their section, and they'll be able to tell you. And hams are a pretty cool group of folks, so they'll gladly tell you. Okay, any other comments or quick? Enough, so we don't want to overwhelm her. But if somebody has something that you're dying to say that you think CJ should know, please call now.
Yeah, this is Kilo Papa for Mike Delta. I have a comment.
Well, great, Carol. Please come on in and share it with us.
Okay, thank you. This is Carol Philipop for Mike Delta. When I was first licensed in 1970, and I'm sure there's probably some here that have been licensed longer than I, it was required to have a logbook, and you needed to log every single contact. Even if you just got on the air and called CQ, you had to write down the time that you called CQ and the frequency and all those things. And I have logbooks, actually physical logbooks, going all the way back from when I first got on the air. that's always a possibility. If you want to keep a logbook, that you can actually buy a physical log and, just keep write in, the contacts that you make, not only for contests. This is something I've noticed, that I do keep a log. Now I keep an electronic log. I do use a ham radio deluxe, which I've been using now for about 10 years. And I just, not for contests, just for regular contacts on the air. I'll go ahead and I'll put the contact in there, the country and then the frequency and the report. And whenever sometimes you get QSL cards from these stations, and they want a confirmation, of the contact. And there's no way for you to confirm that unless you have a record of that QSL. So that's a good, valuable reason for keeping a logbook when you're operating on the air and contacting stations on HF especially. The Ham Radio Deluxe, they had a free version, and that's the one I'm still using. It's really cool. It has a lot of extra powerful features, like you can control the radio with it. You can use it for digital modes, like the PSK31 and things like that. But what I really like about the logbook version feature in there is that it'll automatically upload your contacts to EQSL, and also to you can export to Logbook of the Worlds with it. And it's the good thing about it is that free version is free, and that's still available out there for anybody who wants to try it. So I still keep mine updated. You could also, of course, export your log entries to QRZ.com if you keep a logbook there. And some people use that for their log. They have there's a logbook feature available for everybody. They're on QRZ.com on your own page. So that's what I want to say, and it's a lot of fun just keeping a record of who you talk to. So back to net control.
Okay, very good. Great comments there, Carol. We appreciate it. So as Carol mentioned, back in the day you were required to keep a log by the FCC. Now today you're not required to, but it's highly recommended. And Carol gave us some good reasons. Let's go to CJ now. She has a question. So CJ, go ahead.
I was just wondering, do you guys log whenever you're on repeaters or when you're on Echolink? Do you log those too?
Well, CJ, that's a great question. Would anybody else like to jump in and answer that? Because I think I've talked enough this evening. Give you gals a chance. So anybody who would like to address CJ's question, please call now.
This is WA4YL. In response to CJ's question, I used logbooks on 2 meters at the beginning and kept track of everybody I talked to, and that's how I learned everybody's call signs. So I've done that, but I don't keep a logbook every time I talk to the same person. Sometimes, and on QRZ it's the easiest logbook to use. That's net control.
Okay, very good, Dawn. Thank you very much. And there's some good suggestions there, especially if you're for fairly new hams that are just getting started. You know, a lot of us are. I know for me, I kept a pad and a pen in the car, and at traffic lights, I'm jotting down real quick the call signs of everybody I'm hearing, just so I can either look them up later on QRZ and find out more about what they enjoy about the hobby, or just to get the practice of hearing call signs. When you're new, you're not used to it. You're fumbling trying to remember, call signs and such. And you know, a lot of hams will tell you the only call sign you have to remember is your own. You know, you only have to ID yourself. But it's nice to be able to learn folks and their call signs associated. But as Dawn mentioned, she does log them from time to time. But I personally, I first started out kind of sort of putting them in and realizing that a lot of folks do not log 2-meter contacts from repeaters, like when you're doing just rag chewing, as you would say, or having your casual conversation on the way in to work or on the way home, or running errands, and you're just on the repeater and you're just having a QSO in between routes. Generally, you don't log that. Can you? Absolutely. Sure, you can put that in a log if you like. Echolink you generally don't, because it's not a node that, or mode I should say, that counts toward any of the major contests or sponsored contests from ARRL or a lot of the large organizations. Some do have separate contests or fun activities that you can participate in using Echolink, and they are included. But you generally don't put Echolink contacts in a logbook as a general rule. You can log if you like, but you're not required to do so. Any other comments on that for CJ? Please call now.
This is a G4YL.
Please, go ahead, Melanie.
I think I have it. I'm trying to jump in here in between the repeater. Yes, I think Catherine pretty much hit on a strong point there, is that while not required anymore, most people keep logs for reasons of getting wallpaper, chasing paper, and getting awards, whether you're trying to get awards for counties. There's an award for pretty much any mode and every frequency, and there's endorsements of those modes. So if you were to get all 50 states on 20 meters, then you try to get all 50 states on 40 meters. And if you did it on 20 meter phone, you might want to try it on 20 meter CW or 20 meter digital. And those are endorsements to each of those awards. Now, what Catherine alluded to as far as repeaters, normally logs for awards or anything like that are going to be on simplex transmissions, and most contests only consider qualifying contacts are those done simplex. No cross-mode, cross-frequency, or repeater contacts. There might be something out there I don't know about. I haven't seen one, but you're logging for simplex contacts. So if you're doing 2-meter simplex, or you're doing a UHF VHF contest, or you're doing EME moon bounce, or you're doing satellite work, by all means log your contact. But I think the big difference there is whether you're doing a simplex, which of course is a direct contact regardless of whether you're doing it on 2 meters or whatever, or if you're doing a repeater type of contact through your local repeater on 2 meters, and that's the difference in there. And I think, I hope I didn't add any confusion, and that makes sense. AG4, back to net.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Melanie. Some great points that you added there. Thank you so much for coming back with those. It's very helpful. We can't forget about the VHF, UHF contest. You would certainly log those, so very good. Okay, CJ, hopefully that answers your question. Anything else that you would like to add there, CJ?
No, actually, you guys gave me a whole ton of information. I wasn't expecting that much. So, yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you both. Thank you all. Okay, back to you.
Awesome. Well, glad that we all could help you out there, CJ. It's great, and I'm sure you'll have plenty more questions. Like if you haven't set up Logbook of the World yet, you'll want to do that too. So you can start uploading your logs from your logging program to Logbook of the World. So you can start working on some wallpaper, as Mel put it, with your worked all states and DXCC. So if you need any help with that, feel free to bring those questions here to the net, and we'll try to help you here. And if it gets too lengthy in discussion, then we will move to other means such as direct to Echolink connection at some point, or via phone or Skype, or whatever suits you there. All right, Melanie has something else to add real quick. So, Melanie, please go ahead.
Okay, I think I have it. Okay, yeah, another quick word. Just I remembered something to comment on, something that Carol had mentioned about her logging program, and that's a word about N3FJP. And please go to the website N3FJP. I use it to control my rig and vice versa. If I change the frequency on a rig and find something that frequency is already plugged into my log, I can click and pounce on DX spotting. There's a separate map. It will also interface with other rigs. It'll do all digital modes. It has an API interface. It's a very powerful tool and very simple to use, very easy. And Scott, who is the writer of the program, is available almost 24/7, so he's very responsive. But I did want to, she made some points about being able to control her rig with her logging program, and N3FJP will allow you to do that. I downloaded N1MM and GenLog, which are free logging programs, on my computer. Then I played with N3FJP at Field Day, and I turned around and sent Scott went to PayPal and bought his entire suite, which is a lifetime of updates, and the support is insanely good, and the program is insanely good, and he comes up with something for everything. I posted a link to the website. If you go there, there's something on Field Day that tells you how to set up for Field Day. It's interesting just to watch, whether you have the program or not. It's interesting just to see what that all is about. But I do want to mention that all that interfacing, recontrol, digital modes, it's all available through N3FJP as well. And Carol Meleza had brought that up, so I thought I would make sure that that point was made. And I'm going to send this back over to Net because I have spoken enough. This is AG4YL. I'm back to Net.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Again, it's such a great topic. So thank you, CJ, for bringing up a great question. And we are out of time, so we're going to go ahead and close out the net. But thank you, ladies, so much for being here with us this evening. Please feel free to come back in about 1 hour and check in with Margaret in the Minnow Net if you like. I'm sure she'd love to have you. And the gals that come in from West Coast area, I'm sure they would love to hear you as well. So thank you so much for all your comments, your suggestions, your questions. Again, this net is for you. We appreciate it. Hope everybody enjoyed it this evening. And we're going to go ahead and close out the net. Thanks again to Lauren for live streaming and recording of this net and making it available to all through YouTube. We'd also like to thank ALARA for the use of this Echolink conference node, North Fulton Amateur Radio League for their drop-in chat room, and all LinkedIn listening for your ongoing support of the net. This is Catherine, AAC4YL, closing out the YL OpNet and returning the ALARA conference node back to normal use. 33 ladies, we'll see y'all next week.
Late check-in, please. Do a late check-in.
This is AAC4YL. I believe we have an OM calling here. The net's been closed. It's a YL net, and we take check-ins from YLs or young lady ham radio operators. So we won't be taking any more check-ins this evening, but there are some gals that are still here for probably a few more minutes. Go ahead, AAC4YL.
Turn the radio on. I'm Tom down in Wesley Chapel, and I didn't realize it was a YL net there, so sorry about that. But we're listening.
That's no problem at all. We're glad to have OM support through listening in. So thanks so much, and feel free to listen in every week. This YL net, the Echolink ALARA conference node, and we have some repeaters that link in. So if you have any YLs in your area that might be interested in joining a net, we'd love to have them check in and join us. It's a great group here. So thanks so much, and it's great to hear you on the air, and hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. 7-3 from AC4YL.